My name is Alma Green. I'm 69 years old. 3 months ago, on Father's Day, my son announced, in front of 15 people, including my pastor and my ex-husband, that I would be watching all 4 of his children for the summer. He raised his iced tea. He smiled the way salesmen smile. "You'll watch all 4 grandkids this summer, Mom," he said. "That's what grandmas are for." I set my glass down. I answered without raising my voice. "I'd love to. My rate is the same as the daycare you quit." Tyler laughed first. The whole table laughed with him. He stopped laughing 46 seconds later when I opened a thin red folder I had been carrying since 4:12 that afternoon. What was inside that folder destroyed 3 lies my family had been telling for 6 months. It cost 2 of them their summer vacation. And it cost my ex-husband his marriage. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is what my 6-year-old grandson sent me from his iPad 5 weeks earlier, and what my pastor said at 5:53 p.m. Welcome back to Mom's Sweet Revenge. This is the channel where the quietest woman at the dinner table walks out the most powerful. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and if anyone has ever told you that's what grandmas are for, like you stopped being a person, stay with me to the end. I worked at Bromley & Associates for 35 years. We were a family law firm tucked into a 1920s brownstone on State Street. I drafted contracts, custody agreements, prenups, child care retainers, caregiver service agreements. I wrote 4,000 of them, maybe more. My title was paralegal. My specialty was making messy lives organized on paper. The senior partner, William Bromley, used to walk into the break room and tell new hires the same line: "Alma is the most underestimated person in this building." He said it for 30 years. I kept making coffee. I raised my 2 sons alone after my divorce in 2003. Tyler was 18, Dale was 14. I worked late. I took the bar review classes I could afford. I never made partner. I never sat for the bar. But I sat at every signing table. I knew the language, I knew the math, I knew what a 1-line termination clause could do to 20 years of resentment. I retired in August of 2024. I didn't plan to. My husband Henry was dying. I left the office on a Tuesday and never went back. I still live in the same colonial in Newtown, Bucks County, the one I kept in the divorce. 2 stories, cream siding, a back porch where Henry liked to read. I have drafted 4,000 contracts in my life. Eventually, I would draft one for my own son. The first version took 17 minutes on a yellow pad in my home office. The notarized version took 4 hours at Joyce's conference table the following week. The thing about people who underestimate paralegals is that they never know they did it. They just keep handing you paperwork until the day the paperwork hands itself back. My family was about to learn that the hard way. Henry Green was my second husband. We met at a book club in 2008. He was a retired civil engineer. He read everything. He laughed quietly. He fixed my back porch on a Saturday in March, then asked if I'd ever been to the Pacific Coast. We were married 11 years. In January of 2024, his diagnosis came back, stage 4, pancreatic. He chose home hospice. I took compassionate leave and brought him soup. He died on a Thursday morning in August, holding my hand. He did not speak. He looked at me. I looked back. 3 weeks after the funeral, I started clearing out his desk. I opened the top drawer. Inside, under a pile of grocery receipts and a 2019 fishing license, I found a handwritten letter folded twice. The first line said, "If you're reading this, I'm sorry." I stopped there. I closed the letter. I put it back in the drawer. I did not open it again for 20 months. I knew Henry. I knew what would be in it. I knew if I read it that summer, I would weep for 6 weeks and emerge unable to function. I gave myself the room to grieve in installments. People talk about widowhood like it's a single state. It isn't. It's a building with hundreds of small rooms, and you walk through one at a time, and some rooms you don't enter until the year is right. That letter sat in the drawer, through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, through Easter. When I finally opened it, in May of 2026, what Henry had written would change what I packed in my car. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The day I retired, Joyce Bromley threw me a party in her office. Joyce is the daughter of William, the senior partner who had said that line about me for 30 years. She had taken over the firm in 2017. She was 64 years old and built the way you build women who never sat at the partners' table, by being charming. Joyce was charming the way a knife is. You only noticed after. The party was small, 8 people. Lawyers don't really do parties. She gave me a gift wrapped in plain brown paper. I opened it at her desk. Inside were 12 red folders, embossed, the Bromley Standard, bonded leather corners, 3-prong fasteners, the kind we used for high-value family settlements. I laughed. Joyce, I'm retiring. I won't need these. She didn't laugh back. Use them, she said. You'll still need them. I took the folders home. I stacked them in my home office, 3rd shelf from the top. I never opened them. I had no clients. I had Henry to feed. I had soup to make. When Henry died 4 months later, the folders were still on the shelf. When I cleared out his desk, the folders were still on the shelf. When I sat through Thanksgiving with my ex-husband and his second wife, the folders were still on the shelf. I thought Joyce had given me a sentimental gesture. Joyce knew better than that. Joyce, in 38 years of friendship, had never once given me a sentimental gesture. She had given me my next contract template. I just didn't know who the client would be. Thanksgiving 2024 came 3 months after Henry's funeral. I hosted. That's what you do. You don't break ritual the year someone dies. You break ritual the year after, when you finally feel safe enough to. Walter showed up uninvited. Walter is my ex-husband. We were married for 22 years. I caught him with a woman named Karen in the office of his insurance brokerage in 2002. I filed for divorce in January 2003. The judgment gave me the house. He resented it for 21 years. Tyler had asked me about the divorce once, in 2007. He was 22. I told him his father and I had reasons. I did not name them. I did not want him to choose a side a second time. He took my silence as confirmation his father had been the right one to side with. I let him. He arrived at 1 o'clock with Karen, now his wife. 2 pies. Nobody asked them to come. I let them in. That's also what you do. You don't fight in front of grandchildren on a Thursday. Tyler hugged his father in the hallway. I went into the kitchen to pour coffee. That's when I heard it. Walter was leaning against the dining room doorframe, talking low to Tyler. He did not know I was 3 feet away. She'll mope around for another year, he said. About time she did something useful. Karen heard it too. She was setting napkins on the table. Her hand paused. She did not unpause for a long time. I would not understand why for 19 months. I poured the coffee. I carried in the cream. I served the pumpkin pie. I asked Bella about her gymnastics class. I did not confront Walter that day. 35 years of paralegal training had taught me one thing. You do not react to opposing counsel in front of witnesses. You record the date, you file it, you wait for the deposition. I waited 20 months for that deposition. Walter did not know he was being deposed, but he was. My son Tyler is 41 years old. He sells Hondas at a dealership in Doylestown. His wife Megan is 38 and works as a dental hygienist 3 days a week. They have 2 children. Lily is 9. She reads constantly. Owen is 6. He has asthma. They live in a 4-bedroom, split-level, 23 minutes from me. I love them. I am specific about how. I love Tyler the way you love a son who decided at 18 to side with his father in a divorce. Carefully, from a distance, with both hands free. In March of 2026, Tyler called me on a Tuesday afternoon. "Hey, Mom," he said, "just letting you know, we pulled the kids out of Carmen's daycare." I was loading the dishwasher. I closed it. "Oh," I said. "Why?" "Saving money," he said, "for some bills." "What bills?" "Just bills, Mom." I waited. "And the summer?" I asked. There was a pause. 3 seconds. I am a paralegal. I count pauses. "We'll figure it out," he said. "Don't worry about it." I told him I wasn't worried. I told him to give my love to the kids. I hung up. Mrs. Carmen Reyes, had interned at Bromley & Associates in 2007. I had trained her in filing systems. Her daycare on Maple Street was the best in Newtown. There was a wait list 9 months long. You don't pull 2 children out of the best daycare in town to save money on some bills. You pull them out because the money has been promised to something else. I picked up the phone. I called Carmen. We had coffee on Thursday. Carmen told me everything. My younger son, Dale, is 37. He is a plumber. He has his own truck and a wife named Sarah and 2 kids of his own. Mason is 11 and plays travel hockey. Bella is 8. She has scoliosis. In October of 2025, Bella's curve had progressed to 48 degrees. The surgeon at CHOP scheduled a spinal fusion. The deductible alone was $8,000. The total out-of-pocket after the insurance company's preferred rate gymnastics came to $48,000. Dale and Sarah posted about it on Facebook. They started a GoFundMe. They told the family at brunch that they didn't know how they were going to swing it. Sarah, at that brunch, looked across the table at me and said, "It's so generous that you've got that pension, Amma. I really hope something works out for Bella." She said it the way you toss a tennis ball at someone's chest. Soft, with aim. I did not respond. The next morning, I called Reverend Philip Mitchell at First Methodist Church. Philip and I have been friends since 1994. He runs the church's anonymous medical fund. Donors give money in. Families in crisis receive money out. The trustee, Philip, is the only person who knows both ends of the transaction. The fund has a single exception clause. A donor may, in writing, authorize the trustee to disclose the donation at a future date. I signed mine the morning I wrote the check. I did not expect to use it. I wrote a check for $48,000. Philip thanked me. He said he'd handle the paperwork. 3 weeks later, Bella had her surgery. She came out beautifully. The pins in her spine are titanium. She'll walk straight for the rest of her life. Dale and Sarah wrote a thank you card to the church. They sent it to the church secretary. Sarah told everyone at Easter that the church miracle had saved Bella. She told everyone but me. Christmas Day 2025 was at Tyler and Megan's split level. They had a real tree this year. Megan likes a real tree. The smell of pine and something synthetic in the candles. The kids were in pajamas. Owen had a cough. I had brought a portable nebulizer in my purse, just in case. After dinner, I went upstairs to use the bathroom. The guest bathroom is at the end of a long hallway. The walls are thin. On my way back, I stopped. Megan was in the master bedroom with the door cracked open. She was on the phone with her sister Brittany. I could hear every word. "No, Mom Green is fine," she said. "She doesn't work anymore. We've got options for summer." She laughed. "Yeah, we'll figure it out." I stood in the hallway for 90 seconds. I am a paralegal. I count what I hear. Options, Megan had said. Options is a word with weight. A real estate agent has options. A defense attorney has options. People who are planning have options. People who are confused do not have options. I walked back downstairs. I helped Lily wrap a leftover present. I told Tyler I needed to leave early. "Early dinner crowd at the diner," I said. "Traffic." I kissed Owen on the forehead. He coughed once. I drove home at 9:14 p.m. on Christmas night. The roads were empty. The radio was off. In the silence, one word repeated. Options. I did not call Joyce that night. I did not write a single sentence in a notebook. I made tea. I sat at the kitchen table. I looked at the empty chair across from me where Henry used to sit. I waited. Easter Sunday, 2026, April 5th. I gave Owen an iPad, the cheaper model, $299 at Best Buy. Megan made a face when he opened it. "Alma, that's too much," she said. "You really shouldn't have." I told her it was a grandma decision. She did not argue further. Owen was already setting up his Lego game. I put the iPad on Family Share. My Apple ID was the parent account. I told Owen he could message me anytime. He was 6. He had only just learned to type. Megan had no idea. Neither did Tyler. The family had never asked. I had been paying for Owen's medication for 36 months. Symbicort, Pulmicort, nebulizer solution. The boy had severe, persistent asthma. The specialty inhalers were not covered. The pharmacy on Maple Street, the same Maple Street as Carmen's Daycare, had me listed as the payer on file, $420 a month, every 30 days, since March of 2023. Tyler had never asked who was covering it. The insurance had been sending denial letters every month for 3 years. Owen's specialty inhalers were classified as non-formulary. Tyler did not open envelopes from insurance companies. Megan stacked them in a kitchen drawer with the coupons. The pharmacy mailed the cash payer receipts to my address because I had set it up that way the first month Owen wheezed. Megan complained about a $300 tablet. I'd been paying $420 every 30 days to keep her son breathing. I never said a word. Listen, if you have ever paid for something quietly and watched the people who benefited never even ask, drop a yes in the comments. I see you. Hit subscribe, because 6 weeks after Easter, I picked up an iPad I had given a child, and I read something that changed everything. Mother's Day, May 10th, 2026. Tyler hosted brunch at his split level. Megan made quiche. Dale and Sarah came. The 4 grandkids ran around the yard. Walter had been invited. He did not come. Karen had a headache. After the quiche, while Tyler was clearing plates, he sat down next to me. "Mom," he said, "hey, we should talk about summer plans soon. Just plans." He said it casually. His hand was on the back of my chair. Megan came in from the kitchen carrying coffee cups. She heard the word summer. She smiled the way real estate agents smile at open houses. "The kids love being with you so much," she said. I looked at both of them. I gave them a careful smile back. I said. "Tell me when you're ready." I did not push. Paralegals don't push. Paralegals wait for the opposing party to over-explain. I drove home at 4:30 p.m. I unlocked my house. I sat in my home office. I called Joyce Bromley. Joyce picked up on the second ring. "Alma," she said, "how was brunch?" I told her about the call from March, about the daycare, about the phrase options at Christmas, about the way Megan said, "The kids love being with you so much," while reaching for a coffee cup. Joyce was quiet for 8 seconds. Then she said, "Alma, get the red folders out." I told her I had been thinking about it for a week. "Of course you have," she said. "You've drafted 1,200 of these. You can smell a setup." She told me to come over Tuesday. We would draft a template. I poured a glass of wine. I took a red folder off the shelf. May 12th, Tuesday morning, before I went to Joyce's. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee. I pulled Henry's letter out of the desk drawer for the first time in 20 months. I did not unfold it. I held it in my hand. I knew what was inside, in general. Henry had told me, in his quiet way, what mattered to him toward the end. The Pacific Coast. The 8 weeks. He had said it twice in the hospital and once in our kitchen. I set the letter on the counter. I opened my laptop. I booked 11 Airbnbs. San Diego to Vancouver. 8 weeks. Departure date, June 23rd. Return, August 18th. Total prepaid, $7,840. I booked a flight to San Diego. I reserved a rental car from Avis. I called my neighbor, Mr. Garrison, and asked him to take in the mail and water the African violets. He said, of course. I printed the itinerary, 4 pages. I took a red folder off the shelf. I slid the itinerary inside. Then I marked my kitchen calendar in red Sharpie. June 23rd, PCH departure. I put the calendar back on the wall. I had not booked this trip to escape my family. I had booked it to keep a promise to Henry. The family situation just happened to be timed conveniently. Paralegals love timing. I drove to Joyce's office at noon. We drafted a service agreement template. We took 3 hours. She fed me a sandwich from the deli on the corner. When I drove home, my car had 2 red folders in the back seat. By June 21st, it would have 4. Owen slept over at my house on Saturday, May 16th. Tyler and Megan were at a wedding in Princeton. Lily was at a friend's birthday sleepover. Owen had the iPad in his backpack and his asthma inhaler in his pocket. I made macaroni. He ate it watching a Lego game. At bedtime, I tucked him in. "Grandma," he said, Can I send you a good night? Sure, sweetheart. On the iPad? Daddy made a gamma button for me. I helped him open the Messages app. Tyler had saved a contact called Gamma, pointing to my phone number, set up at Easter so Owen could text me without help. I tapped the contact for him. The thread opened. Owen typed slowly, "I love you, Gamma." 3 letters per minute, tongue between his teeth. He hit send. My iPhone chimed downstairs. I kissed his forehead. I went downstairs. I made tea. The iPad stayed on the coffee table. Around 10 that night, while I was washing the macaroni pot, I noticed the iPad had not gone to sleep. The screen was still bright with the messages list. I walked over to turn it off. The list was sorted by most recent activity. At the top, pinned, sat a thread titled Summer 2026. The preview line under the title was 4 words long. Mom is bored anyway. I read it twice. I did not pick up the iPad immediately. I finished washing the pot. I dried my hands. I sat down at the kitchen table. The iPad was logged into Tyler's iCloud account. Tyler had taken it home after Easter and switched it over from Owen's child account to his own, said he wanted to monitor app downloads. He had never bothered to log out of his own messages before handing the iPad back to his son. I picked up the iPad. I tapped the thread. I scrolled. The thread was titled, in white text against blue, Summer 2026. The participants were listed across the top. Tyler, Megan, Dale, Sarah, Walter. 5 names. I was not one of them. I scrolled back. The chat had started November 14th, 2025, 6 months earlier. The most recent message, sent at 6:42 p.m. on Friday, before Owen had even arrived for the sleepover, was from Megan. Mom is bored anyway. We're doing her a favor. Hundreds of messages above it. Months of them. I set the iPad down on the table. I did not pick it up for several minutes. I sat in Henry's chair for a long time. I do not know how long. I watched the African violet on the windowsill. The light from the street lamp moved across the linoleum. I felt a number of things. None of them were sharp. They were dull, the way an old bone aches before rain. I did not call anyone yet. I did not write anything down. I did not cry. What I did was this. I stood up. I walked to my home office. I took the 3rd red folder off the shelf. I laid it on my desk. I opened my laptop and propped the iPad next to it. I scrolled the chat on the iPad from beginning to end, screenshotting each screen. 43 screenshots. I airdropped them to my MacBook. I printed each one. I stapled them. I labeled the folder in black Sharpie, Exhibit A. Then I put on a cardigan, walked to the porch, and called Joyce. It was 11:43 p.m. Saturday night. She picked up on the first ring. "Alma," she said, "what do you need?" I told her. Joyce said, "I'm coming over in the morning." This is the part where I will read you some messages. I will not read you all 43. I will read you the ones that mattered, the ones I underlined in red pen that afternoon on my office floor with Joyce sitting across from me eating a tuna sandwich. I will give you the timestamps. Paralegals love timestamps. November 14th, 2025, 8:43 p.m. From Walter. Talk to Tyler. Mom's been doing nothing since Henry. Time we sorted summer. November 15th, 2025, 6:12 a.m. From Megan. We can pull Owen and Lily out of Carmen's. Save $15 to $20 a month. Use it for the Outer Banks place. Mom can have them. November 15th, 2025, 9:30 a.m. From Sarah. Dump Mason there too. He needs structure. November 22nd, 2025, 7:14 p.m. From Tyler. She owes us, basically, all those years she was working. December 3rd, 2025, 10:08 p.m. From Walter. She has guilt issues. Push hard. She'll cave like always. January 14th, 2026, 11:51 p.m. From Megan. Mom doesn't work anymore. We do. May 10th, 2026, Mother's Day, 2 hours after I left brunch. From Megan. We tell her at Father's Day. Public. She won't say no in front of Walter. June 10th, 2026, from Tyler. I'll say it. That's what grandmas are for. Megan, can you write the line for me? June 10th, 2026. Reply from Megan, 9:02 p.m. Yeah, just lead with, you'll watch all 4 grandkids this summer. Sounds natural. Don't add anything. Forwarded email at the bottom of the chat. June 12th. From Megan to Sarah. Carolina Sands Timeshare. Outer Banks, Unit 2B. Deposit $6,000. Total $24,000. Tyler and Dale on the deed. We can move forward Monday. I read it twice. I did not cry. I did not call anyone. I did not raise my voice. I am a paralegal. I went to my closet. I took a red folder off the shelf. I sat down at my desk. I started to type. Joyce arrived the next morning with a turkey sub and a notarial stamp. She said one sentence as she walked through the door. Amma, we have 35 days. Tell me what you want this to do, I told her. She nodded once. She sat down. We started. Joyce sat at my kitchen table with the sandwich and her work laptop. She put on her reading glasses. She is 66. She has had cataract surgery. She still wears her grandmother's pearl studs. Read me the lines you want in the contract, she said. I read them. Rate, hours, late fees, required documentation, medical authorization for Owen, termination clause, asymmetry of bargaining position. I dictated. Joyce typed. Where do you want to do this, she asked. Father's Day, I said. Dale's backyard. Reverend Mitchell will be there. She nodded. Why Reverend, she said. You want him to mediate? No, I said. I want him to confirm something at the end. She looked at me over the glasses. Bella's surgery? Yes. You sure? Yes. She closed the laptop. She took a bite of the sandwich. Amma, she said, I have one question for you. What? Are you doing this because you want them to apologize or because you want them to understand? I thought about it for 10 seconds. Joyce does not need fast answers. She needs honest ones. Neither, I said. Then what? I want them to choose, with full information, whether they want me in their lives as a person or as a service. Joyce smiled. The smile of a woman who has drafted 1,200 custody agreements. That's the cleanest answer I've heard from you in 40 years. She took another bite. Then we have until June 21st. Send me everything tonight. I walked her to her car at 6:14 p.m. She did not hug me. Joyce does not hug. She squeezed my shoulder once, opened her door, and drove away. I went back inside. I made dinner. I ate alone. 34 days until Father's Day. Tuesday, May 19th, Joyce's office at the firm. The same office where she had given me the folders 21 months earlier. She had pulled out a fresh IRS publication 503 from the reference shelf. She had a yellow legal pad with the math already started. The conference table had 2 coffees and a plate of shortbread. We drafted for 4 hours. The Green Family Child Care Service Agreement. 4 pages. 23 numbered clauses. Rate, $18 per child per hour. The rate is derived from Internal Revenue Service Publication 503, the federal guideline for dependent care credit eligibility. It is the rate a household contractor would invoice for licensed caregiving in the Mid-Atlantic region. 4 children, 50 hours per week, 11 weeks of summer, 2,200 child hours, multiplied by 18, $39,600. CPR certification surcharge, $1,200. Liability rider, $2,400. Pediatric medical authorization required for Owen Green, 6, due to documented persistent asthma. Late pickup fee, $1 per minute after 6:30 p.m. 7-day termination notice required from either party. Joyce notarized the template at 4:47 p.m. Alma, she said, when you read this out loud Sunday, if it gets to that, read it slow. I know. And do not raise your voice. Joyce, I have not raised my voice since 1987. She laughed. Right, I forgot who I was talking to. I drove home with the contract printed and stapled. I slid it into the red folder labeled Contract. I now had 3 folders. The third one, Exhibit A, held the screenshots. I put both folders in a drawer. I poured a glass of wine. There was still one thing left to assemble. It was sitting in the safety deposit box at First Federal Bank. May 20th, Wednesday evening. I sat in Henry's old reading chair in the living room. The chair faces the back window. The window faces the porch. The porch faces the maple tree we planted in 2011. I held the letter. I unfolded it. I read it cover to cover for the first time. Amma, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. I know what you're doing. You're putting things back where they belong. You always put things back where they belong, even when nobody asks you to. So here is one thing I want you to take with you when you go. The Pacific Coast Highway. Drive it. Take 8 weeks. Don't let anyone, and I mean anyone, especially Tyler when he tries, talk you out of going. He will try. He won't even know he's doing it. He'll have a reason. He'll have a kid emergency or a money emergency or a marriage emergency. Go anyway. Tyler will need you to stay because he won't know how to be a man yet. 41 is later than most, but he'll figure it out faster if you leave. Trust me, I figured it out at 38 when my dad died. The room emptied out. I figured out how to stand up by myself. Took about a year. Bring you with you in the songs. The Springsteen ones, the Joni Mitchell ones, the Hank Williams one we played in Maine that summer. Eat oysters in Tamales Bay. Wave at the seals. I love you, Alma. 11 years was not enough. 8 weeks of coast will not fix that. But it might fix you a little. Try. Yours always, Henry. I folded the letter. I put it in my coat pocket. That is where it stayed until June 21st. Thursday, May 21st. First Federal Bank on Court Street, 9:32 a.m. I asked the teller for my safety deposit box. She walked me back. I sat at the little wooden desk in the vault room. The light was bad. I had brought my own reading glasses. I pulled out the Bromley Family Scholarship Trust folder. Joyce and I had set it up in 1995, after the partner meeting where William Bromley had cleared his throat and said, "I'd like to fund my staff's children's educations privately." He didn't fund mine. So I funded mine. I just put a name on it that suggested someone else had. For 30 years, I had quietly transferred money into the trust. Joyce contributed too. The trust then paid out to scholarship recipients. The recipients were always Greens. They never knew the source. I sat at the desk and added it up on a yellow legal pad. The way I had added up 4,000 contracts. Tyler. Community college, transfer to Temple, first car, wedding, $87,400. Dale. Community college, plumber's license, tools, truck down payment, $34,200. Bella's surgery, October 2025, $48,000. Owen's asthma medication, March 2023 through April 2026, $15,120. Mason's braces, 2023, $4,800. Total, $189,520. 30 years, 30 grandmothers worth of generosity, invisible, tax receipted, never spoken of at any dinner table. I copied the documents. I had the bank notarize the copies. I slid them into the red folder labeled Trust. I now had 4 folders. The car would carry them on June 21st. I drove home. I made soup. I did not feel angry. I felt observed by my own life. Saturday, June 13th, 4:17 p.m. A text from Sarah, my daughter-in-law, by Dale. Father's Day cookout, June 21st, 4 p.m., our place. Everyone coming. Bring your famous potato salad. Heart. I replied, I'll be there, 4 p.m. sharp. I added it to my kitchen calendar. The same calendar where I had marked PCH departure, June 23rd, in red Sharpie, 6 weeks earlier. The cookout was on a Sunday. The trip departed Tuesday. There was 36 hours between them. Joyce had asked me, on the phone Wednesday, if I wanted to fly Joyce in for moral support. No, I told her. If I bring backup, it looks orchestrated. It is orchestrated, Amma. It is, but it doesn't need to look that way. I packed my car Saturday night. 2 suitcases, a duffel of camera gear, a cooler with Henry's old thermos in it. The 4 red folders went in a leather satchel on the passenger seat where the seatbelt could hold them. Sunday morning, June 21st. I woke at 6:14 a.m. I drank coffee. I read the New York Times in print, the way Henry used to. I ate half a grapefruit. I dressed in a navy blazer and white linen pants. I put Henry's letter in the blazer pocket. At 3:47 p.m., I drove to Dale's house. Before I tell you what happened, would you have gone? Or would you have stayed home and let them figure summer out alone? Tell me in the comments. If this is the kind of story you have been waiting for, subscribe. There are 17 more like it on this channel. The car is packed. The folder is ready. The picnic table is set. Let's go. 3:47 p.m. The drive to Dale's house in Newtown took 23 minutes. I knew the way by muscle memory. I drove in silence for the first 10 minutes. Then I turned on NPR. The story on All Things Considered was about caregiver labor, specifically about grandparents who provide unpaid childcare and the economic value of that labor, estimated at $15 billion a year in unpaid hours. I laughed once, out loud, alone, in my car. It was the kind of laugh that comes from very far down. Not bitter, not amused. Something else. A laugh you have when the universe times something correctly. I changed lanes. The folder shifted on the passenger seat. I thought about Henry, about the letter in my pocket, about Joyce's parting line on Friday. Read it slow. I thought about Owen, about the iPad, about the line of text he had typed 3 letters per minute, tongue between his teeth. I thought about the daisy cutter line my son was going to deliver at 5:47 p.m., ghostwritten by his wife, designed to corner me publicly while my pastor and my ex-husband watched. I had nothing to prove. I had everything to deliver. I pulled into Dale's neighborhood at 4:09 p.m. Cherry trees in early summer green. Lawns trimmed. The American flag at the corner house. The white tent in Dale's backyard already visible from the street. I parked behind Reverend Mitchell's silver Camry. The Reverend was already inside. I sat in the car for 40 seconds. I touched the satchel once. I touched my coat pocket, Henry's letter, once. Then I got out, picked up the potato salad, slung the satchel over my shoulder, and walked to the gate. The cookout had begun. Dale and Sarah's backyard runs 40 feet deep, a white tent on the lawn, a long folding table draped in red checked vinyl, 6 folding chairs, a grill smoking quietly near the fence, hydrangeas, purple and pale blue, flanking the patio. There were 15 people present. Tyler, Megan, Lily, Owen, Dale, Sarah, Mason, Bella, Walter, Karen, Reverend Philip Mitchell, his wife Susan, 3 neighbors, the Petersons, Mrs. Whitcomb from across the street, who had brought a casserole. I greeted everyone the way you greet people at a cookout. Smiles, hugs that lasted 3 seconds, a peck for Susan, a nod for Walter, who was at the grill turning burgers and pretending not to see me. Reverend Mitchell met me near the drinks table. He was holding a Diet Coke. He looked at me carefully. "You look ready," he said. "I am. Anything you need from me?" "Yes," I said. "If I touch my lapel, that means it's time." "Understood." I poured myself iced tea. I placed the satchel under my chair at the picnic table. I sat. Owen ran across the lawn and hit my knee at full speed. He hugged me. I knelt down. "Hey, Grandma." "Hey, sweetheart." "I love you." "I know," I whispered. "Thank you for the iPad message back in May. It meant a lot." He nodded solemnly. He did not know what he had done. He ran off to find Mason. I sat between my pastor's wife and a hydrangea bush. The satchel was at my feet. The folders were in the satchel. The 4-page agreement was in the 3rd folder. Father's Day 2026 was officially underway. Megan came over at 4:38 p.m. She was holding a solo cup of rosé. She wore white linen and gold sandals. She had grown her hair out 3 inches since Christmas. She sat down across from me. She tilted her head. "Alma," she said, "you look so comfortable, so put together for someone with all this free time." Sarah, who had walked up behind her with the chips, laughed. "It's the retirement glow," Sarah said. "Right, Alma?" I smiled at both of them. I did not respond. Mrs. Whitcomb, the neighbor, 62, recently widowed, sharp as a pin, stepped over with her plate. "Amma," Mrs. Whitcomb said, "is that the navy blazer from your retirement party? It's so chic." Megan stiffened. Susan, the Reverend's wife, was passing with deviled eggs and overheard. She set the plate down. "Oh, yes," Susan said. "Amma was always the best-dressed paralegal at Bromley. The lawyers used to ask her what to wear to depositions." Megan put down her rosé. At the far end of the table, Karen sat alone with a Coke. Her purse on the bench beside her was unusually heavy, I noticed. I would not understand its contents until late August. Lily appeared at my elbow then. She is 9. She was holding a folded piece of paper. "Grandma," she said, "I drew you a picture. It's you at the beach." She unfolded it. A stick-figure grandmother with gray hair standing in blue waves. A sun. A pelican. I asked her where she got the idea. "Mommy said you weren't allowed to go to the beach this summer," Lily said, "but I think you should go." I looked up. Megan looked at her plate. I folded the drawing carefully. I put it in the inside pocket of my blazer, next to Henry's letter. "Lily, sweetheart," I said, "tell me about the pelican." Lily told me. I listened. It was 4:51 p.m., 5:14 p.m. Walter was at the grill. Karen was beside him with a plate of buns. The Petersons had wandered over to chat about the new traffic light on Sycamore Street. Walter flipped a burger. He looked over at me. He spoke loud enough for the whole tent to hear. "Karen, hand me the tongs. Amma can carry the side dishes." He paused. He smiled the smile of a man who has practiced a line. About time she did something useful. Mr. Peterson chuckled politely. Mrs. Peterson did not. Karen winced. I watched her face. She remembered Thanksgiving 2024, the pumpkin pie, the hallway. She remembered. Reverend Mitchell, standing near the chips, looked at me. I touched my lapel. Just once. He nodded. He took a slow sip of Diet Coke. I did not look at Walter. I did not respond. Paralegals do not respond. We log the date. We log the time. We log the witness. 5:14 p.m. 24 people. Walter Green. Second utterance. Same phrase. I went back to my iced tea. I asked Mrs. Whitcomb about her azaleas. She said the deer had eaten them. Tyler had heard his father's line. He glanced at his wife. Megan gave him a small nod. Tyler stood up. He cleared his throat. He picked up his bottle of beer and held it like a microphone. "Hey, everyone," Tyler said. "Quick announcement." The conversations didn't stop, just shifted. "Just a quick thing," Tyler said. "If you could all listen for a second." The Petersons turned. Susan turned. Reverend Mitchell stayed where he was, near the drinks table. It was 5:46 p.m. The grill hissed. Bella's brace clicked as she stood up to listen. Tyler tapped his bottle once on the side of the table. "Everyone," Tyler said, "real quick thing." He smiled the salesman's smile, the Honda dealership smile, the smile he had been practicing for 3 weeks in his bathroom mirror. "My mom. You all know my mom. She's amazing. She raised me. She raised Dale. She's been through a lot since Henry passed. We love her." The Petersons nodded. "And you know, with everything going on, daycare costs, summer schedules, the kids needing stability, we wanted to make something official today, on Father's Day, with everyone here." He turned toward me. He raised his bottle. "Mom, we've all been talking. You're going to watch all 4 grandkids this summer. That's what grandmas are for." A pause. Megan beamed. Sarah lifted her plastic cup. Dale clapped Tyler on the back. Walter, at the grill, said loud and clear, "About time." There was applause. Polite, scattered. Mr. Peterson clapped. Mrs. Whitcomb did not clap. Susan, the Reverend's wife, did not clap. Lily did not clap. She looked at me with the same careful look she had drawn in her picture. Confused. Watching. Owen looked up from his juice. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know that the line his father had just said had been ghostwritten by his mother on June 10th at 9:02 p.m. He didn't know that the iPad in his backpack was the reason I knew that. I sat still. I set my iced tea down. I touched the inside pocket of my blazer. Henry's letter was there. I touched it once. I touched my lapel. Reverend Mitchell set down his Diet Coke. I stood up. Slowly. Smoothly. the way you stand at a signing table when both parties have agreed to terms. I looked at Tyler. I smiled. "Thank you, Tyler," I said. "I'd love to." I let the sentence sit there for a beat. 2 beats. "My rate is the same as the daycare you quit." For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Tyler laughed first. The Honda laugh, loud and quick. "Mom, ha, okay, funny. But seriously, we appreciate this so much." He turned back to the crowd as if the moment had passed. Megan laughed too. Higher, thinner. "Amma, you're so funny," she said, always with the dry humor. Sarah said, "Oh my gosh, can you imagine?" The Petersons chuckled politely. Mr. Peterson didn't quite get it. I reached down. I lifted the leather satchel from under my chair. I placed it on the picnic table. I unbuckled the strap. I pulled out a red folder. Bonded leather corners, 3-prong fasteners, the Bromley standard. I set it on the table, flat, square to the wood grain. Tyler stopped smiling. Megan's eyes dropped to the folder. Dale leaned forward. "Mom," Tyler said. "Tyler," I said, "I'd like to walk you through the breakdown. It will take about 4 minutes." "Mom, what is that?" "This is the Green Family Child Care Service Agreement. It was drafted on May 19th by myself and Joyce Bromley, Esquire. Joyce notarized it that afternoon. It is a standard contract template. It is the same template I drafted for external household care contracts at Bromley & Associates for 12 years. I opened the folder. The contract was in the top sleeve. "You're not serious," Megan said. "Megan," I said, "I am extremely serious. Joyce charged me $40 to notarize. That is the only money I have spent today, aside from the potato salad ingredients." Reverend Mitchell sat down at the picnic table. Slowly. 2 seats away. Mrs. Whitcomb set down her plate. Karen, standing by the grill, put down the buns and folded her arms. Walter said, "This is ridiculous." I did not look at him. I looked at Tyler. "Tyler," I said, "Page 1, Section 1, rate." I began to read. The grill hissed. The hydrangeas swayed. I read slow. Green Family Child Care Service Agreement, drafted May 19th, 2026. Parties, Alma R. Green, caregiver, Tyler M. Green, and Dale J. Green, parents and clients. I lifted page 2. Rate, $18 per child per hour. The rate is derived from Internal Revenue Service Publication 503, the federal guideline for dependent care credit eligibility. It is the standard rate for licensed household child care contractors in the Mid-Atlantic region. 4 children, 50 hours per week, 11 weeks, 2,200 billable child hours. I paused. Total base contract, $39,600. Megan's mouth opened. CPR certification surcharge, $1,200. Liability rider, $2,400. Total contract due, $43,200. Payable in 3 installments. First installment due upon execution. Tyler stood up. Mom, come on, this is a joke, right? You're joking." "Tyler, I am not joking. This is the standard rate I drafted for any external client during my last 12 years at Bromley. I am simply applying it to family. I always thought it would be fair to apply the same number both ways." Dale leaned back. "Mom, 43 grand. 43,200, I said. I have rounded carefully. Sarah said, "This is humiliating, Tyler. Can we just—" I turned the page. Section 9, Required Documentation. The parents must provide signed pediatric medical authorization for any child with chronic conditions. In this case, Owen Green, age 6, has been diagnosed with severe persistent asthma. He requires Symbicort, Pulmicort, and a nebulizer setup. The medications cost $420 a month. Owen looked up. He had heard his name. "Tyler," I said, "do you know who pays for that medication?" He blinked. "Insurance does. Insurance covers 8% of the cost." I turned another page. "I have been paying the rest, every 30 days, for 36 months. The table was silent. Megan made a small sound. Tyler dropped back into his chair. "Mom, what?" "Tyler, the CVS on Maple Street has me listed as the payer of record for Owen's specialty medications. Since March 2023, 3 years. I reached into the folder. I pulled out a printout. CVS Pharmacy. Patient, Owen Green. Payer, Alma R. Green. Total paid since March 2023, $15,120. I slid it across the table. Tyler picked it up. His hand shook once. Megan tried to take it from him. He pulled it away. Walter said from the grill, "Tyler, son, don't read that." "Stay out of this, Dad," Tyler said. He read the printout. He read it twice. Megan's eyes filled. "Tyler, she just gave you that information now to manipulate us. This is—" "Megan," Tyler said. His voice was low. I waited. He looked up at me. His face was flushed. Not red, flushed. The way a man looks when he is processing math. "Mom," he said, why didn't you tell me?" It was the first time he had raised his voice all afternoon. I answered in 8 words. "Because I didn't want you to feel indebted." Tyler sat back. He looked at his hands. Megan tried again. "Tyler, this doesn't change." "Megan, stop." Mrs. Whitcomb made a small noise of approval. Sarah pulled Mason toward her. Mason did not understand. Mason had been told for 3 years that his cousin Owen's medication was handled. I looked at Megan. "Megan," I said, "I believe at 11:51 p.m. on January 14th, you sent a message to a group chat that said, 'Mom doesn't work anymore. We do.'" She froze. "You were correct," I said. "I do not work for you. I work for him." I pointed at Owen. Megan tried to stand up. This is private. You cannot just—" "Megan," I said, "sit down." She sat down. I reached into the satchel. I pulled out the second red folder, the one labeled Exhibit A. "Summer 2026, I said. "That is the title of the group chat my son started with my ex-husband, my younger son, his wife, and my daughter-in-law on November 14th, 2025. I set the screenshots on the table. 43 pages, stapled. Owen accidentally sent me his goodnight message through Tyler's iPad on May 17th. The iPad was logged into Tyler's iCloud account. Owen's reply attached to the group chat. I saw the messages by accident. I have been reading them ever since. I lifted the first page. I will read 4 lines. I read them. I did not raise my voice. November 15th, 2025. From Megan, 6:12 a.m. We can pull Owen and Lily out of Carmen's. Save $15.20 a month. Use it for the Outer Banks place. Mom can have them. I paused. December 3rd from Walter, 10:08 p.m. She has guilt issues. Push hard. She'll cave like always. The grill hissed. Walter said nothing. Karen, buy the buns, set them down. November 22nd from Tyler, 7:14 p.m. She owes us, basically, all those years she was working. Tyler closed his eyes. I turned the page. And finally, June 10th, 11 days ago, from Megan to Tyler at 9:02 p.m. Yeah, just lead with, "You'll watch all 4 grandkids this summer. Sounds natural. Don't add anything." I closed the folder. I looked at the entire table. That is the line my son delivered to me 3 minutes ago. Mrs. Whitcomb covered her mouth. Lily had stopped eating her ice cream. Her bowl was tilted on the picnic table. She was looking at her father with her mouth slightly open. I noted it. I would talk with her about it the next morning before I left. This, I said, is what grandmas with paralegal degrees are for. I sat down. The hydrangeas swayed. Reverend Mitchell stood up. Last item, I said. I reached into the satchel. I pulled out a single email printout. The Carolina Sands timeshare confirmation. I slid it down the table to Tyler. This is what the saved daycare money was for. Not bills, a $24,000 timeshare in Outer Banks. You and Dale on the deed. Megan and Sarah forwarded the confirmation on June 12th. I am not on the deed. I was not invited to use it. Dale said, "Sarah, you said this was your idea." Dale, stop. You told me Mom didn't want to come. Sarah stood up. Dale, don't do this in front of— Sit down, Sarah, Dale said. Sarah sat. Reverend Mitchell stepped forward. He had been waiting. Walter, he said, I'd like to add one item to the record since we are sharing things in writing today. Walter said, Philip, This is family business. Reverend Mitchell did not raise his voice. It is family business, he said, which is why I am including the family. Walter, Reverend Mitchell said, Alma anonymously paid $48,000 for Bella's spinal surgery last October through the church's Anonymous Medical Fund, which I administer. I am breaking confidentiality this afternoon because Alma gave me her written permission on Friday. Bella, who had been quietly drinking lemonade through a straw, looked up. Grandma Alma, she said, you paid for my back? I looked at her. She is 8. She has titanium pins in her spine. Yes, sweetheart, I said. Reverend Mitchell helped me keep it private. Bella thought about it for a moment. Thank you, Grandma. You're welcome, sweetheart. Karen, Walter's wife, picked up her handbag. Walter, she said, care to explain why Alma paid for our granddaughter's surgery while you complained at Thanksgiving that she did nothing useful? Walter said nothing. Karen turned. She walked across the yard. She got in their car. She drove away. 2 months later, she would file for legal separation. But that is a different story. I stood up. I closed the 4 red folders one at a time. I stacked them. Reverend Mitchell sat back down. I lifted the satchel. I looked at Tyler. The full agreement is yours. If you would like to discuss terms, my paralegal Joyce will respond to written inquiries. Otherwise, Carmen at the daycare on Maple Street still has 2 openings. I confirmed this morning. Tyler did not speak. I turned to Walter. He was still at the grill, his hand on the tongs, burgers smoking. You said it twice, Walter. About time I did something useful. I agree. I picked up my purse. I'm starting tomorrow at 6 a.m. with a road trip. Walter said nothing. He looked at the burgers. I walked to the gate. Owen ran across the lawn after me. He hit my knee. He hugged me. I knelt down on the grass. The grass was warm. Father's Day grass. Grandma, he said, where are you going? To the ocean, sweetheart. All the oceans? One of them. For a little while. Will you send me a picture? I will send you a postcard from every state. Promise? Promise. I kissed his forehead. He smelled like sunscreen and watermelon and the faintest medicinal ghost of a Symbicort inhaler. I stood up. I walked through the gate. I did not look back at the picnic table. I got in my car. I started the engine. The 4 folders sat on the passenger seat, where Henry used to sit. I did not cry in the car. I drove home. I made tea. I poured it into Henry's old thermos. I cried in the kitchen at 9:14 p.m. for exactly 2 minutes. Then I went to bed. I set my alarm for 5:30 a.m. I had said 3 things at that picnic table. I would say nothing else to them for 61 days. June 23rd, 6 a.m. The Colonial was locked. Mr. Garrison waved from his driveway. I drove to JFK. 2 o'clock flight to San Diego. I rented a Subaru from Mavis. I drove north on Highway 101. For 8 weeks, I drove. Pismo Beach, Big Sur, Monterey, the Pelicans at Moss Landing, the fog at Carmel, the redwoods at Humboldt, the cliffs at Oregon, the wet green of the Olympic Peninsula, the ferry to Vancouver. I listened to the Springsteen. I listened to the Joni Mitchell. I listened to the Hank Williams song from Maine twice on a cliff above the Pacific at sunset on a Tuesday in July. I ate oysters in Tamales Bay. I waved at the seals. On July 18th at 6:43 p.m., at a wooden picnic table on a beach in Olympic National Park, I unfolded Henry's letter for the 2nd time in my life. I read it cover to cover. The sun went down on it. The salt got into the paper. I refolded it. I put it back in my coat pocket. From a gas station gift shop in Big Sur, I bought a postcard with a pelican on the front. I wrote on the back, Owen, thank you for your iPad message in May. It reminded me how much I love being a grandmother. Hope your inhalers are stocked. Love, Grandma Alma. I stamped it. I dropped it in the mailbox outside the gift shop. I sent no other mail. Henry had been right. About all of it. The road, the 8 weeks, and what would happen if I left. August 18th. I returned home at 4:32 p.m. 3 months of mail. 47 missed calls on my voicemail. Tyler, 19 calls. 8 voicemails. They alternated. Apology, blame, pleading, apology, blame. Megan. 12 calls. Hang-ups. No messages. Dale. 7 calls. 2 of them slurred. The other 5, sober. Sarah. 5 calls. Asking about Bella's physical therapy appointments. I had been paying for those through December. She had figured it out. Walter. 0 calls. Karen had filed for separation on July 28th. Her lawyer was the woman at the table next to Joyce's at Bromley. I did not return any calls. I unpacked the Subaru rental's contents into the front hallway. I made tea. Joyce came over at 6 p.m. with a bottle of wine. We drank it on the back porch. At 8:14 p.m., I opened my laptop. I typed an email. I copied Tyler, Megan, Dale, and Sarah. Walter was not on it. I'm available for 1 in-person family meeting per quarter by appointment with a written agenda submitted 7 days prior. Tyler, I will continue to pay for Owen's medication. Sarah, Bella's physical therapy is paid through December. Walter, I will not be at Thanksgiving. Love, Amma. I clicked send. Joyce raised her wine glass. To the cleanest closing argument I ever heard. I clinked mine against hers. The maple tree out the back window swayed. I did not invite. I did not lecture. I listed terms. Paralegals do that. 3 months later, I still have not been to Thanksgiving. Tyler has been to my house twice. Once with Owen, once alone. Both times with a written agenda submitted 7 days in advance. He has not apologized cleanly. He has gestured toward apology. I have accepted the gestures. Megan has not come. Dale and Sarah signed Mason and Bella up for the after-school program at the Y. Owen is enrolled at Carmen's Daycare again. Lily is in 3rd grade. They both got their postcards. Owen has 14 of them on his bedroom wall, lined up in a strip. Karen lives in Florida now. The separation will be final in February. Walter is alone. I do not feel triumphant. I feel correct. If you find yourself doing something for someone you love and they begin to plan around it without asking you, that is no longer a relationship. That is an arrangement. And arrangements get contracts. That's my story. 1 red folder. 1 promise to Henry. 8 weeks of coastline nobody could take from me. If this reminded you boundaries aren't selfish, they're survival, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Drop a comment, hit subscribe. See you next time.